How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Fourever Arsenal podcast. The transfer window's over and we've also dropped our first points of the season in game week 3. As you can see, a little change to the normal panel. James is off on holiday, but as always, we've got a strong backup option. We've got Dan Potts in the building. Dan, what are you telling me, man? You all good?
Yeah, man. Pleasure to be here. Big up to James, and I hope he's enjoying himself. And pleasure to be back on with you guys, man. It's been too long, man. Hope you're all well.
Yeah. Come on, people, go show some love. Football's 12th man. That's Dan's channel, and obviously he does some great work with lead judges as well. He carries the channel, to be honest.
Yeah.
Big up, man.
Yeah, man. It must be hard work. Your back must be hurting, mate. But it's all right.
Still love, man. Still love.
Lee, on time today.
Yeah. I ain't been asleep yet.
I sent the link. What, 13 hours in advance? Was that all right?
And I'm here on time. So there you go, But I've gone out and bought a referee's doll today, and I'm still putting pins in it, So
we've interrupted the process.
Yeah. I'm actually he's in the those little referee things you get, He's actually on the saucepan, on boiling now, you know what I mean. So I'm not done with him yet.
Don't cause no fires.
No.
Not that it'll help the weekend, though, Lee. Not that it'll help the weekend. We've already dropped those points, and we'll get into it all. Jordan, they're smiling on holiday.
Yes, bro. No, working, bro. I'm here for the Paralympics. Quick plug. We're here for another 8 days. We're here another 7 days. Finishes next Sunday. Channel 4, wall-to-wall coverage. Go check it out. There you go. Quick plug. Wee Paris. Out here working hard, but obviously watching the Arsenal. Obviously watching 90 minutes of the Arsenal while I'm out here as well.
Yeah, 90 minutes. He made sure he got that in, people. So there you know. It's not a highlights package this week. But let's talk, because we might as well get into it. There's no predictions today because obviously it's international break. So the bulk of the conversation is going to be about the result against Brighton and obviously the transfer window with Raheem Sterling, now an Arsenal player, which a week ago when we last did the podcast, I don't even think we even discussed or entertained too much. So that's something we need to talk about too. Hit the like button, 1,000 likes, and like I said, show some love to the individual channels as well. Let's get going. Dan and Lee, you were both at the game on the weekend. It's become somewhat the norm to start with you, Lee. So yeah, start us off. I mean, it was all meant to be 3 points and 9 points going into those two difficult away fixtures, but instead it's 7. And we are light to them when Arteta said we are light 7-8 days ago now.
Yeah. Well, what can you say? Didn't seem very much similar to last season, dropping points at home, and now going to probably the most difficult this week I can remember in since I've been following Arsenal. That's how difficult this week's going to be now. Away to Tottenham, which is never easy, without your best midfield player. Away to Atalanta on a Thursday night, and then away to Manchester City, 3 days later. So, and what you need there is a big squad, which we haven't got in midfield. We're already down 2 midfield players for one game. Ready, Mourinho, down. He takes over the Timber mantle. New signing, don't play. Like yesterday, listen, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the referee and everything like that. But for me, look back on it, had enough chances to win that game. Have we said that before at home? I think on many occasions. And I'm going to say it as well, I love the defensive partnership of Saliba and Gabriel. Moses have opened the sea there, completely open for one move, straight ball down the middle of our defence. When and you've got to really defend really well for the rest of the remainder of the game. I think was poor, boys. You know what I mean? You can look at the Declan Rice thing, you can look at the chances we missed. But that goal was horrendous. I didn't realise how bad it was until I see it. You know what I mean? Both of them. You know what I mean? Were at fault for that. Organisation after we went down to 10 men was poor. You know what I mean? The Arteta and his assistants all standing there on the lines doing that should all be prepared for, boys. You should have that every game. Like, what happens if Declan Rice gets sent off? We do this. What happens if Sango gets injured? What happens? It should be all prepared. It should be all prepared, and they were going arm and arm about it. They didn't get it right, in my opinion. Didn't get that right. And at the end of the day, I don't think we played well enough to win that game of football. And you can say that Brighton played really well and stifled us a little bit, but I felt that our passing wasn't quite good. And by the way, Trossard, outstanding when he started, wasn't he? Like, everybody calling for that. Watched his performance, like, you know what I mean, was non-existent. Funny, isn't it? Like, when you start on that left-hand side, whoever it is, don't have a good game. Why? I don't understand it, like, you know what I mean, because he was as non-existent as Martinelli has been in the first two games. You know, so they've got to sort that out. That left side's got to be sorted out. But at the end of the day, still very, very disappointed. Even though we was playing back, I think if we stay at 10 men, we probably win the game. See it out pretty comfortably, if I'll be honest. But Declan Rice, I'll just quickly go on to that. Like, you know, that's 2 bookings now for late challenges. Why? Because he's not quite up to scratch. I think he's been poor in the 3 games compared to last season. You know, so all in all, listen, I thought the crowd got behind the team, and when we went 1-1, I don't know how you guys felt. I thought we was going to lose the game, but we managed to salvage a point. But I come away from that game thinking, okay, we're down at 10 men, but 2 points dropped. Again, you know, second game of the season at home, and we've dropped points. Disappointing.
Very, very disappointing. Dan, you might as well come in now because you was there as well. I mean, you're like me, pessimistic at the best of times, but surely for this one, we expected the 3 points. And obviously, Lee's talked about a couple of the game-changing moments. I'm not too sure we all agree with how much they changed the game or the results at the end, because I agree with Lee. I think we had enough chances to win it, but overall performance probably wasn't good enough to win it. So it's a bit of a weird one, Dan. How are you feeling about it?
Well, I was told we didn't need a striker. So if we don't need a striker, we should be 3-0 up because we've got good enough attackers on the pitch to finish our chances. But Odegaard fluffs his lines, Saka fluffs his lines, Havertz fluffs his lines, and now it must be the referee's fault. It's the referee. That's whose fault it is. Whenever we're blaming the referee, we didn't play very well, people. Yeah? Let's just have it right. When we have to point at the referee as the excuse as to why we didn't win the game, it's probably because your players fluffed their lines. And this is what I get frustrated about all the time with Arsenal fans. It is an excuse. It's never our fault. It's never us. It's always somebody else. I absolutely hate the excuses FC that we have become over the years. And we're doing it again three games in. Let's just have it right, people. The worst player this season for Arsenal has been Declan Rice. He's been our worst player. It's not because I don't rate him. He's actually one of my favourite players. I'm not going to show you, but he's on my back. But I tell you what, this guy is not ready. He ain't fit enough. And you saw that by the yellow card that he got. And in my opinion, I thought the performance was pretty poor again. And whether you believe he should or should have not have been sent off, I've watched it again. He does kick the ball away. And by the letter of the law, it says you got to go. If you've got to get a yellow card, and if you're already on one, you're going to get sent off. So he's given the referee the choice. The referee couldn't wait to give it, by the way. I will say that. But there's a lack of consistency, which I think people can be frustrated with. But let's forget about the referee for now. Let's look at our own performances. We had enough chances in that game to win it, and we have fluffed our lines. Kai Havertz does absolutely everything right. It was a superb finish for the first goal. It was a brilliant bit of play. Unbelievable first touch, by the way. Go and watch that first touch again that comes across. It's incredible from Kai Havertz. Then you look at them out muscling done Van Heck, who's he's not a weakling. And then he puts that finish, and I'm thinking, yeah, I've seen this game before. I've seen this before, man. I saw this against West Ham last season. I saw it against Fulham last season. I saw it against Liverpool in the FA Cup last season. And around that time was just after Christmas to January before we went to Dubai. And what was everybody telling me? We've got to go and get Ivan Toney in January. Got to go and get Ivan Toney in January because we're going to need a striker. And now it gets to the window shut. And look at the state of that bench. Now you might say to me that the injuries are there. Yeah, I can say that. But who are the injured players? Tomiyasu, Have we seen him injured before? Jesus, have we seen him injured before? We've got Raheem Sterling to come back. That's cool. I'm sure we'll get onto that in a minute. But you're telling me we're relying on Raheem Sterling and Jesus to come back? We now got to go into the midfield against Spurs, playing a double pivot of Jorginho and Partey. And potentially for Man City as well, by the way, yeah? If things don't look right with Rice, because he don't look fit for me. So, listen, I've been told it's an 8 out of 10 window. It's been a superb transfer window again for Arsenal. We've spent £20 million net spend, and that's if you include the Raya fee. I think it's a shambles, and I think yesterday it's kind of a wake-up call, really, to what we didn't do in the summer and where we're at right now, going into some of the hardest fixtures we're going to see in a long time. People forget that the Champions League games have come out. Inter Milan in between Newcastle and Chelsea, Atalanta in between Man City and Spurs. It's going to be very interesting. And like you say, Turkish, yeah, it might sound pessimistic, but sometimes you've got to be realistic, man. I feel let down. I feel disappointed. And I feel deflated going into the season that I believe we needed this to get across the line. And I don't think we've done it, man. And I thought yesterday proved it again. Too many missed chances, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100%. And I know the podcast and the viewers are, well, some, maybe a lot, maybe half, Gandhi.
I don't know if you can see that, right? That's a program from Wolves, right?
Yep.
Okay. And Brighton one was at about another 6 players, right, on there. That's it. That's a team, right? Wolves and Brighton who've got 8 more players than us, right? Yeah. They're not playing in the Champions League. They're not playing in the Champions League.
Yeah, but Lee, sorry, who are those players? To be fair, that might be 8 more academy players. That doesn't mean there's 8 more good players on their bench. Then, do you know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what, we didn't have on the program. I can't know if I've got the program. I think I've left it in the van, in the car. If I be honest, like, you know, I looked at it yesterday. If you ever look at the program, I'll send it to you. We didn't have even Wanyeri, right? They had about 8 players more than us yesterday. We didn't have Wanyeri or Lewis Skelly on that list yesterday, right? You know what I mean? All I'm saying is, I'm not saying you have to have a big. You put in 8 more games this season, minimum, right? Yeah, or than these other teams. 4 more extra games in the Champions League, like, yeah. Surely you've got to have a bigger squad than what we had last season. I don't get that.
Yeah, well,
that's like my argument, like, you know what I mean.
Are you agreeing we're weaker, Lee? Are you agreeing we're weaker? Because I think I don't think we look any stronger. That's for sure.
I think we're stronger in person, in quality, but not in
quantity. Like, yeah,
quality, quantity, not. You know, we've got to play Thomas Partey now in 3 games, or maybe 2. In a week, but you know what his injury record's like, so you've got to try and nurse him through games. You know what I mean? Like, so, and also, I don't know about this Marino one. You know, people I've spoken to have had shoulder injuries and all that are saying it's longer than two months, 6 weeks. They're saying 3 months, 4 months.
That's exactly what I heard yesterday.
That little bit quiet. And if that is the case, and it is, like, I'm going to hold my powder dry on that. But if it is 4 months, right, just say it is, like, just say it's 4 months, guys. You know what I mean? Like, he ain't coming back to January, right? You had a chance you know that you had a chance to do something in this window on that. You know what I mean? Knowing that he ain't going to be about for a couple of months. I don't know, but you know, it worries me. It worries me, the depth of the squad. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like Dan makes a great point there. We're relying on players we know that are injured. You know,
they've put a new front cover on an old book, and they hope that we forget we know this ending.
Facts.
That's what it is, and it sounds doom and gloom. It is doom and gloom because it's game week 3, but the reality is I don't think we've done nearly enough to take the title off City. And all the excuses we tend to give with the whole, if he stays fit, and if he stays fit, well, guess what? If Haaland stays fit for the 2 months, 3 months he missed last year, what do we expect out of those 2-3 months? So if De Bruyne stays fit for the 3-4 months that he missed last year, What about these players? Because we're not talking about Jesus and Tomiyasu's over there. We're talking about De Bruyne and Haalands they missed last season. And on top of that, we've been crying out for a striker. We dropped points in our first game. And what does their striker do? Score his second hat-trick in a row, his 7th goal of the season. Now, Man City, I want to just lean on that game because the conviction thing for me is a big point. And you see that? Have we all seen Man City's goals?
Yeah.
You know, Man City's first goal, Bernardo Silva nicks it off the defender. One pass into Haaland, bang, goal. We don't score that goal.
No.
We don't score that goal.
Turkish, I'll ask you a question. I'll ask everyone a question, right? You know what I mean? Who's had the hardest first 3 fixtures, Man City or Arsenal? And I'll repeat what it is. Chelsea away.
Yep.
You know, Ipswich at home and West Ham away. Be realistic and all that from our point of view. How many points would you say we get out of that?
West Ham away.
Like prediction.
I think our 3 are harder.
You do?
Yeah. I think Villa away, Brighton at home, and Wolves. They've got Ipswich. If Ipswich are one of your first 3 games,
yeah, the home side of that, but that's too difficult away games.
Not too dissimilar
for us away from home, Jordan. London derbies, they're tough. They've just breezed them. I watched the game yesterday. They just breezed it because do you know why? When it starts to get a little bit tricky, bang, goal.
Yeah.
Bang, goal. When it gets a little bit tricky for us, we miss. We had a great, listen, Havertz was outstanding yesterday, boys. It was fantastic. Dan, you've said it right there. But the shot there, he's weak.
I don't think he was fantastic. I actually think, and whatever player I start on today, people are going to say I've got an agenda against him because I'm not happy with multiple players. So if we're going to start on Havertz, it's probably, the one people think I've got the most agenda with. His finish was great. His finish was easy. I'm going to be honest with you there. The ball's bouncing, the keeper's coming out. He has to put it over the keeper, and I expect him to score that. But I also expect him to score the one-on-one that he done great work for because he brought the ball down beautifully. He held Van Heck off beautifully. His pace got him in front. He's on his favoured foot, and then he scuffs it because there's no guile to the finish. Compare that to Haaland's one-on-one. Like I said, the first goal. Now, I'm not comparing the two because you can't. But the fact is we don't have that gunman. And then a few minutes later, Saka in the 6-yard box again. We don't have that gunman. Pardon me if I'm wrong, but an Isak in that one-on-one or a Gokares, you feel a bit more. That's a striker. That's an out-and-out 9. He's one-on-one. He's going to get it for you. So I think overall Havertz didn't have a good game. I think when I look back defensively, Saliba is at fault as well because they parted for no reason whatsoever. But I still expect Gabriel to deal with that. And I'm tired. I'm getting increasingly tired of Gabriel's mistakes. Like Jordan, that's actually one you picked out, ahead of the pack. But 2 mistakes in the first 3 games that essentially should have, one cost us, but both should have cost us because Watkins should have buried that. And we'd be talking a whole different story now about Gabriel today if it was 2 games he's cost us. And now it's only 1. Be nice, support and whatnot. We've got Calafiorian. There must be a reason for that. 2 mistakes in the first 3. Gabriel made mistakes in the first 8 last season too, and in the first few games of the season before. It just seems like something with him in terms of starting seasons. But it is what it is. Midfield, non-existent. I mean, how does the ball even get through 2 centre-backs without even bypassing the midfield? Because there's no midfield to bypass. Lewis Dunk cut us open from his own half. Lewis Dunk with 10 men. And then the conviction thing is the biggest thing. Last year, people got tired of me saying, transition, fluidity. Fluidity was the word they got. You're going to get tired with conviction this year because I'm going to talk about conviction an awful lot, especially this first, 3-4 months of the season because we don't have it. This was exactly the same as games we dropped points in last season. We should have been 1-2 up. Well, we was 1 up, but we should have been more than 1 up. One moment there that, we will talk about, but we won't dwell on, makes the game more competitive, brings it back to a level playing field, let's say, because at that time, it didn't seem like with 11, we're going to even, have anything to worry about. But 1-0 up, it's all up for grabs with 10 men. They come back into it and we drop points. But the conviction is the problem. Because even in the first half, the first 20, 25 minutes where we're dominating the ball, we start games so well. Saka had the best 10 minutes, starting 10 minutes I've seen him have in a long time. He ran at the defender, turned him inside out. There was a moment he had a skill. He should have shot. He cut it back. It wasn't to be. That first 10 minutes from Saka, amazing. But then it just fades out because we just don't seem to have the inventiveness on the ball. It's all good dominating and controlling it and seeing we have this percentage of possession. But we're not creating the chances that the play and the domination should bring. And again, I look at the City game and I just look at when they have an opportunity to attack the goal, attack the box. They all want to do something around it, inside it. They all want to be there. With us, it just feels like we all want to pass to the person that should be there, but the person that should be there is not there because we don't have that person. Because everyone wants to pass it. We ain't really got that one person that's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck in that attacking line, maybe drop a shoulder, maybe get that half yard in the box and bury it. I don't know why it's come to my mind, but Watkins against Netherlands, roll the defender. It doesn't look like it's, you're getting the what I say 3 points going through. Just roll the defender and puts it bottom corner out of nowhere. We don't really have that. Our thing's got to be perfect. We've got to even not necessarily walk it into the net like Wenger's team, but we've got to just be so meticulous with the way we work the ball through the thirds on the pitch that I'm sure Arteta's not happy with the output either. I'm sure he's not happy with the output.
The problem is Turkish as well. Is like, sorry, but I'm conscious Jordan has not given his thoughts yet as well. But I look at it and I'm thinking, what have we got from the bench, man? Like, real talk, what have we got from the bench that can come in and impact the game? I'm all for coming in and having players that can replace someone if they go down. We've got that with Calafiori. When Tommy Yasu was fit, we've got that with him. Kiwior can come in with Sin last year and do a job, right? But you don't want to be bringing any of those on to win us the game. Then you go into midfield, you've got Jorginho sitting there ready and waiting in the wings. What's he actually going to come on and impact the game with? Anything up top, we've literally cleared it all out. I don't know who has replaced Fabio Vieira and Smith Rowe. Nothing against them leaving. But who's come in against those for those two? I'm told a 17-year-old kid. Okay, cool. When we're going for a title. Now, he looks a baller, by the way. And I hope he's ready. And I'd rather have him on instead of Fabio Vieira. But are you telling me he's coming on to win us the game? Then who comes on the right-hand side? Who comes on the left-hand side? Who comes up top? We haven't got anyone. We've got one player. It's either Trossard or Martinelli. Everybody is knowing we are so predictable right now. I can tell you from a Rivals fan's point of view that they are laughing at our window and they're laughing at how unserious we are. Because I talk to them every single day. And I've got City fans going to me, oh, thank God Arsenal and Liverpool aren't serious. This is going to be easy. 10 points clear this year for us. And they look stronger, by the way, and much better. I ain't seen City start like this. Normally City starts slow. Not 7 goals for Haaland in 3 games, whatever it is. So I'm seriously worried, man. Seriously worried about where we're at in comparison to them.
Jordan, you haven't come in yet. Probably tailor the conversation around the game first, since we've all given our overall thoughts. But the transfer window stuff is obviously seeping through to conversation and it needs to. But yeah, go on.
So we want first game or transfer? We want what's
I mean, if you lot start talking about transfers, I'm going to flip and we're going to have a segment about the Kroenkes and people are going to be like, oh, here he is again and all of that stuff. So if you want to save that for later,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. First of all, this is why I love this podcast. I love doing this podcast with you guys because I've not seen any content from post-match yesterday because I was working, and so but I can imagine every single Arsenal YouTuber, and I'm going to include people on this particular platform, AFTV. Wow, crying, blaming referees. And the reason why I love this podcast is because I disagree with Lee's take on the red card, but what Lee did was he didn't start with the referee. Lee, you talked about the game, you talked about the team, you talked about our responsibilities, what we didn't do correctly yesterday. You didn't start with the referee. And as for Dan, I mean, literally, I'm pissed because Dan has taken everything I was going to say about that incident.
Sorry, man.
No, it's all good. You're the bad guy for once. Trust me.
You'll get the love in the comments this week.
Yeah, don't worry. You'll get it this week, not me. But Dan literally said everything I was going to say. For me, just to kind of go through that red card, the first frustration for me is that I'm having arguments in WhatsApp groups, guys, with people that at first were telling me he didn't kick the ball. I'm like, well, hang on a minute. He clearly kicked the ball. Whether he kicked it, lashed it, touched it, toed it, whatever word you want to use, he stopped the game from being played, right? It's a yellow card. Now, if you remove the emotions or whether you think it should be in law a yellow card or not, that's a separate discussion. The rule states it's a yellow card. So for me, my anger is with the Arsenal fans that are not holding Declan Rice accountable for his actions. The two words I keep using are standards and margins. The margins to win this title are so small. Declan Rice is a key player for us. I expect Declan Rice to know better. The funny thing for me, Turkish, is it wasn't even like it was in a threatening area. Like, if that was in our corner, I might understand why you might try and delay the free kick. You might try a thing, whatever. Their corner, just get out the way and keep it moving. So for me, the Arsenal fans, I'm going to watch the content today. Go on, Turkish.
At risk of being one of these Arsenal fans you're talking about, I have to mention this because there is a balance. I don't want to dwell on that, but that wasn't a yellow card for me. By the rules, I have no argument. But the argument is the rules, because there's also rules in there, or rules worded in a way where common sense should prevail. And the thing about Declan Rice is I've seen people say he didn't move out the way quick enough. He was actually 5 yards away when Van Heck threw the ball 5 yards forward into his path. So he was already kind of halfway the distance he's meant to be away from the ball. Van Heck's thrown it into his heel. And because I've played football, not high level Saturday, Sunday league, you could see, I've watched it again and again. You could see Declan Rice is frustrated that the ref's giving the free kick the other way. He's walking away kind of frustrated. The ball's hit his heel. And as someone that, when you're walking on the grass and the ball hits your heel, sometimes you just tap it. You might do a little skill. You might flick it up. But the way he tapped it didn't indicate to me he was doing it to stop the free kick, because he couldn't see. And then his reaction, because the player came round him, and then he was kind of like, no, like I didn't see him. That's what I think. You could even see him saying that to someone. I didn't see him. Like, I think he even apologized because he kicked it away and then he got kicked. So I don't think that, like, I think common sense should prevail, and you either give both red cards, because the kick, if you're looking by the letter of the law, then that's a red card, or don't give any cards to either, because you don't want to ruin the game in that moment.
I think we're making a lot of assumptions. Maybe you're right in terms of the instinctive nature. When the ball's next to you, you just touch it. Maybe. But the referee has to do his job. And for me, there's two things with this. First of all, I'm not even sure the Declan Rice foul is even a foul. That's the first thing. I'm not even sure it was even a foul, but that's fine. Second of all, the dark arts of what Van Keck has done, I'm okay with that, because if that's my right back, if that's Ben White, I'm saying do the same thing. So this idea that, he's done Declan Rice dirty, of course he has. That's the job.
But we would
to get ahead.
We would call Ben, and I love Ben White, but if Ben White kicked someone the way that Veltman kicked someone, Ben White would have probably got the red card for it, and then I would definitely be saying, why the hell is he kicking through him? Like, that is stupid. Because dark arts is one thing, but kicking is not dark arts. Kicking a man is different to dark arts. Is making the most of a situation.
Are you saying, and I need you to say this, are you saying what Declan Rice done, give the referee no choice but to send him off because it's the letter of the law? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying what Declan Rice did, he gave the referee a decision to make.
Right. And do you think it was the right decision or not?
Well, by the letter of the law.
Right, by the letter of the law. By the letter of the law, right? So why doesn't he referee the game by the letter of the law for the 90 minutes?
This is what I'm going to beef about. No. This is what I'm going to come to. But
I'll beef about the ins and outs of this booking. I get. I can accept that.
Totally, Lee. So I'm with you. My frustration with the Arsenal fan base is that wasn't the initial discussion. The initial discussion was it wasn't a yellow card. Now they're changing it to, but what about that? For me, the debate was always not Declan Rice, should he be sent off? The debate should be, well, why wasn't Pedro booked? That's the debate for me.
In my mind, it's not a yellow card. So I'll tell you why it's not a yellow card in my mind. It's not a yellow card because of the context of the way the referee has refereed the game previously in that first 90 minutes. So when you're letting players off for doing certain things, you've got to have the consistency. I get it. If he books Pedro for the first for kicking the ball away, or books their player in the first minute for pulling Saka down when Thomas Partey pulls down their player, I get that. Fair enough. But when you're doing it for one team and not the other, that's when you get frustration. That's when you look at it and go, why are you not doing it for one and whatever? That's my beef about
Lee,
that,
you're
right?
totally correct. You are totally right. The inconsistency is the debate here. Debate isn't
yes.
it's not should have Rice been sent off. It's the consistency. But this is my thing. Everybody keeps saying, fans, and I'm sure players as well, oh, referee standards are in the gutter. Referees are crap. So if you're a Declan Rice, if you're a player, and you will know,
You should know
that the referees are crap, why are you giving them an excuse to kill you? Why are you giving them an excuse to send you off? If we all agree the referees are crap, why are we then surprised when they do crap things?
Yeah, I agree.
I listened to the radio this morning and I'm hearing fans crying and crying. I'm like, hang on a minute, forget the referee, because it's a pattern with Arsenal fans. Dan said it, excuse FC. It's a pattern of when things don't go our way, the referee agenda, they hate Arsenal. Listen, I work in the media and I need to know these meetings that happen every Tuesday in a car park in Asda at 6:30 in the evening, where referees all link up and decide, right, Arsenal are playing Crystal Palace on Saturday at 5:30. Let's work out a way how we can get Arsenal players sent off. Let's try and work out a way to F over Arsenal. I need to know, but that's a story for me. I need to know what's going on there. It's nonsense. Look at Bournemouth. Their first two games, decisions have gone against them in both their first two games, which were shockers. Absolute shockers. So don't tell me that there's an agenda against Arsenal. Every fan gets effed over. Why? Because the referees are just poor. So please, let's park this agenda nonsense I hear from Arsenal fans. It's not agenda nonsense. Right. Let's go on to the game. How about we stop chatting about referees and we start holding Odegaard accountable for 2 sitters missed in 2 games? How about we hold Gabriel accountable for 2 poor performances? Sorry, that Turkish flagged it earlier on, that could have led to a goal in the last game, did lead to a goal in this game. How about we hold Declan Rice accountable for his actions and 3 poor performances? Also on Declan Rice, the interview, he said himself, he kicked the ball. He also said it's a second yellow. And Declan Rice is the same player that in a Europa League match for West Ham called the referees corrupt in the tunnel. So if he thought it was corrupt, he'd call it out. How about we hold Bukayo Saka responsible for his performance? I thought he was pretty good, but we expect better. How about we start holding these people accountable rather than every single week when someone goes against us, referee. It's boring. And for me, in a title fight against Manchester City, I have no time for this crying about things that don't go our way. Get on with it. You had 45 minutes or 40 minutes to still win that game. Go and win the game. But yet Arsenal fans are crying about a decision that was correct. The right decision. You might not like it. So my final point is, because you mentioned common sense earlier in Turkish, people may not like the rules. That's a separate discussion. The discussion here is, what are the rules and are you applying them consistently? Mm-hmm. That is the discussion. Not, oh, in my world, that wouldn't be a yellow card. Who cares about your world? Who cares about your opinion?
Well, I want that referee. I want him sanctioned. I forget about. It's not about what he's done against Fit. Like I look at it and go, right. I don't know if you remember last season. Was it last season against Man City? Kolovich, was it like two bookings on? You know what I mean? Like, no, like it wasn't enough really to send him off. Was what we got. That's what they said. Not really enough to send him off. What I'm saying is, if I want that, I want Webb to come out there and go, yes, fantastic. You've done everything right for that decision on Rice. But why did you not do this? And why did you not do that? And that's all I want to know. Why did you not book Pedro if you are thinking that is the right thing? I agree with Turkish and all that. Like, if you look back on it, it ain't even like he hasn't stopped the free kick. Right? If you have a look on it, he has not stopped the free kick because the ball's rolling. So he can't stop a free kick. So what is he actually booked for? Kicking the ball away? Right? I don't think he's actually kicked the ball away. He's just tapped it. So he isn't stopping them taking a free kick. The reason everybody's saying it is because their players just felt, and I know what he's done there. He's thought, I can have a little cheap shot at Declan Rice here and get away with it. That's what he's done. Turkish is right. We've all played football. We know what he's done. But at the end, so the referee, I think, in that instance should go, do you know what? If he's a decent referee, like we see at Aston Villa the week before when they all like kicking the balls and everything like that with Oliver, there could have been bookings there. He turned around and went, look, stop being silly boys. And that's all he had to say there was, look, none of that silly stuff, get on with it. But because he wanted to make it all about him,
no, It wasn't about him. It wasn't. He was applying the rules, and you might say that's punitive.
He hasn't applied the rules. What is the? You've just said the rule is
the
rule is stopping a free kick. He isn't taking a free kick.
No, but the rule is kicking the ball away.
Is he kick the ball away? He's going to debate that.
Tapped. He tapped, kicked. Don't touch the ball. The advantage is with the free kick taker. They've been fouled, so the advantage is with them. So if you, as the defending team now, touch the ball, that's a foul. Whether it's a stupid rule, I agree, but it is the
so
rule.
The referee then in the rules of the game could turn around and go, do you know what? You ain't taking it from the right place then. Play it back 10 yards where it was meant to be.
You see
there's so many things. What I'm saying is, Jordan, there's so many things that he could have done to prevent that booking, right? But he didn't. Well, you think it's right or not? Like, you know what I mean? Surely you should be looking at it and thinking, like, I watch other games. I watched that game against Man City like that time against Arsenal. He's trying not to give him a yellow card. You know what I mean? Like, and I get that. But it's like he couldn't wait to give the yellow card. Dan said he couldn't wait to give. He should be actually going, I don't really want to give this. I can get out of this if I do this and do that. He didn't. He chose not to.
But Lee, for me, the decision that no one's mentioned that I think was a shocker, and by the way, I do think the referee gave all the 50-50s to Brighton. That was weird that in a home game, they got all the 50-50s. But the decision that I thought was the worst was the dunk handball. That's the one that no one's talking about.
It's going in. It's going in.
That's the one that we should be outraged about, not the Declan Rice one. I just think this bringing back to Arsenal. I just think I don't want to hear this every single week. Something goes against us, we're blaming referees, especially when it's the right decision. And we can debate the veracity and the seriousness of what Declan Rice has done. But for me, how about Arsenal win games? For me, I think the margins of that. I don't think you can concede more than 4 points at home this season. That's one already. I think if you concede more than 4 points at home, you're kind of done. That's one already. That's the bigger discussion for me. Why are we not killing these games off? And it goes back to, we'll get to in a minute, I'm sure, are we as a squad really tooled up to really do this thing? We should be beating Brighton are a good team, by the way. They've got a good team there, and they're going to beat a lot of teams home and away. We should be beating Brighton at home. Let's have it right. We should be beating Brighton at home.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Brighton, I'll tell you what, Tottenham will beat Brighton at home. Man City will beat Brighton at home. Liverpool will beat Brighton at home. You know what I mean? Like, but I think the positive you have to look at it, and someone said this to me yesterday, is that maybe, you know, if you look at it, we win our 2 home games and we draw against Aston Villa. You know what I mean? So you can look at it like that. Like I don't. I look at it like, you know, we should win our own games. And that's. I
agree. The issue we have now is that, sorry, Turkish, with the drop points at home, you've now put more pressure on yourselves to have to get points against Tottenham and City. You now have to get 4 points from those 2 games. That's minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum. Yeah. Arguably 6. You might need to win both those games now because you've dropped points at home. That's the problem now for me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
The problem is we're already behind City, and let's be honest, if I was to ask what people think of that City game in 2 weeks, I don't think any of us are predicting a win. That's for sure. And I think on the way things are looking with the way they've started the season and Haaland, we'll probably all predict a loss if we're being genuine with ourselves, because we know we haven't improved in the positions that we need to improve in to be able to catch them. Because Haaland and De Bruyne even being fit for the 2 months that they missed last season is a bigger improvement than what we've done in the summer. So that's what's frustrating, because, like I said, they've put a new cover on the old book. And people might say, oh, wait for the season to pan out. I've heard that before. Wait for the January window. I've heard that before. And moments like this where the referee stuff and all that takes precedent. You know, these Arsenal fans that like to act like everything the club doesn't, the shit don't stink at times. They're the ones that use these moments to cover over the cracks that they want to cover over because of this whole positivity train they're on. The reality is this summer ended the way many summers have ended under the Kroenkes, underwhelming. Much more. Only one summer didn't end underwhelming under this ownership, and that was last summer. Instead, this season, to make up 2 points, we've promoted Ethan Nwaneri, a 17-year-old. But when it's 1-1 and we need someone to change the game, we've only got Martinelli in attack. Why? You can't bring a 17-year-old Nwaneri onto that pitch, 10 men, and expect him to do something, because he's a 17-year-old. So all the people asking me at the beginning of the, August or whatnot, Nwaneri, should he get minutes? Is he good enough? He's good. He's a gem. Don't rely on him. We're trying to cut 2 points on City. You don't do that bringing in a 17-year-old. I'll tell you that much. Oh, Mo. Oh, Fabregas. It's they're unique, 1 in million, examples that people can give.
Jesus has got to be ready now, Turkish, for these next 3 games. He's got to be.
But I'm tired. I mean, again,
I know, but if he is, you can understand a little bit about the transfer window. I can get to a certain degree, but if he's not fit for those games, you know that he's not going to be fit for. I think, this next when we come back from international break, those 3 games are. You lose those 2 games against Tottenham and Man City, league's over in September. You know what I mean? Like that. Let's be really honest about it. So if you know that Jesus is not going to be fit for the next game at Tottenham, you surely had to go into the transfer window and do something because you've those big games coming up. You know what I mean? It's no good losing to Tottenham and then Man City and then Jesus comes back and you start winning every week and all that, like, because you've got to make up a 9-point gap or an 8-point gap or whatever it is. You ain't going to do it.
I think the bigger issue, I think you're spot on. We're in a position whereby, I think Dan said it earlier, we are relying on players that we know we can't rely on. At the start of the transfer window, I said on this podcast, I would have sold Jesus and I would have sold Zinchenko. Not because I don't rate them, but I just can't. They can't stay. Even Partey, you don't know I love Partey. Yeah. I would have entertained offers for Partey. What is the point in going into battle with players that are talented, but you just can't rely on? And for me, I'd have cashed in on those 3 players, use that money to get in play. And this is why the Moreno situation that you're mentioning, Lee, about his injury maybe being longer than expected, is surprising because for me, the second most important trait I would have thought and I would have hoped that Arteta and Eddie would have gone into when they're buying players this window. First most important is, can this player fit in an Arteta system? The second most important thing, their injury record. That for me is so important now. It's almost important it's almost more important than quality. I'd rather a player that's good but plays 35 games a season than a player that's really, really good that plays 10. And if they've brought in a player that is injured or has an injury record, I don't know his record, that for me is just so disheartening because it's like, what are we doing? We've already got 3 or 4 players we can't rely on, who we're relying on. And now you're bringing in another player that potentially has an injury that by the time he's up and running and fit, we could be out of the title race. So for me, it's really, really disappointing that we are relying on players again. Jesus is a good player. That injury he had 2 years ago, 18 months ago, the knee injury, he's not been the same guy. Why are we hoping this guy's going to just magically come back? Even Timber. I'm really worried about Timber. I'm really concerned about Timber. I love Timber. But that injury, I don't know, man. These knocks and these little... I'm concerned. And City is looking at
what's worrying, though, is we're talking like we're in April here.
Yeah.
We're talking like we're in April. Like, oh my God, I know we've got a few injuries, but they've all had a tough season. Like, we've got a few weeks, guys. Come on, I know we can't normally rely on you, but we just need you to keep fit. We game week 3, people. And people think we've had an 8 out of 10 window.
You know the other thing, guys, which I need to just say this because it's about the game and the referee. Realistically, we could have been, maybe should have been, by the letter of the law, we should be without Partey for the game against Tottenham. Because he should have been booked for the second yellow card when that's a yellow card, but he let that one go. So we realistically, you know what I mean, like, because he, common sense prevailed or whatever. Like, when you're skating on thin ice, you take a risk. I think that this is the thing about the squad. It just needed a couple more bodies. I think we really did like it.
Someone in the concourse to me yesterday said to me, I'm really worried about our midfield, not up top. And I was like, yeah, same. And he's like, imagine if Ødegaard gets a knock and Rice gets a red card. That was exactly what he said. What happened? Literally 45 minutes later, both those things happened. Ødegaard came off and, to be fair, got kicked very early on and did not look good, limping the whole game. Yeah. And then Rice, we all know what happened. And then we're looking at the bench going, right, who we got? Well, Jorginho, well, that's it. Okay, we're in trouble. Game week 3.
That could have been a lot worse, that Ødegaard one. That's one of those ones when he wins the ball and before I don't think it's a sending off or a foul. You know what I mean? But the football's changed now, isn't it? Like, but that could have been nasty. He was fortunate, really. Like, but again, Daniel, it's a great point you make there. Like, it's a bad tackle, but we've got to keep him on because there ain't no one else.
Excuses. That tends to be a lot of, what some Arsenal fans give this board and ownership. It's excuses, and I'm coming from an era where we've learned. If you're on this positivity train, I understand it, but you've also got to have some balance, because I was positive when we had Fabregas, Nasri, Adebayor, all these men. How did that end? I was positive when we had Van Persie and he banged 20. How did that end? I was positive when Sanchez came in, Ozil came in, and I thought we're turning a corner. How did that end out? Why? To go search Fabregas Arsenal quote. Search it. What he thought about the way we left it all on him as a young man coming through in that era, how he felt about, or go search Van Persie on Google and see what he said before he left about the ambition and all of that. Or even Alexis Sanchez, who didn't come out and say anything, but we know why he moved Man United. They were second in the league behind City. He thought there was more chance. Yes, there was extra money too, but isn't that always the case with Arsenal? If it's not money, it's ambition that costs us the great players. But didn't we move into the stadium to compete with these great clubs? That's why when we're on the last 48 hours of the window and I'm being pressed about Sterling, Sancho, and Mudryk, miss me with that shit. And people are acting like this is a good end to the window. What? Because we got a Reece Nelson upgrade, and best believe it's an upgrade on Reece Nelson. Sterling is an upgrade on Reece Nelson. But let's cast our minds back to the beginning of the summer. You mentioned Partey, Jordan. All of us expected Partey to be moved on with a year left, and an upgrade on Partey on top of the 8 we all expected. So we all expected a striker number 1, an 8 number 2, a new CM DM that comes in for Partey, a backup to Saka, and then maybe a cherry on top. The cherry on top is Calafiori. We got the backup to Saka on deadline day because his number got stripped a week before. Lucky. And we got Merino, the only priority target out of the 3 positions really we needed to address without a shadow of a doubt. But people think Sterling, and Sterling could be a great signing. He could. But he ain't going to be the difference, in my opinion, to winning this league. We haven't done enough. And it was about trying to take this title off City. City might concede the title to us, but the way they've started the season, it's still a long way to go. But there's more hope in them conceding the title to us than us taking the title for them. And again, it comes down to what we did, or in fact didn't do, in the summer. I'm tired of it.
I hear what you're saying on that, but this is where Arteta now comes into play. As far as
don't sign your contract. That's Arteta. Arteta's not Wenger. Wenger chose the board over the fans towards the end. Yeah. As much as I love the man, and as much as we look back and love him now because he's gone and whatnot, at the time, it was toxic because he chose the board. When he's telling us that the football on the ticket prices are because of the football on show, and we're paying the highest in Europe and finishing 4th, that means he chose them. And look how it ended for him. His reputation nearly got done, but his reputation is still intact. He's the greatest ever manager of the club, and so on. Arteta, his reputation is only starting. Will he let this club and this board ruin it before it even gets going? Let's see. Because do you think Arteta, Lee? Do you think Arteta, by choice, thinks it's a good reason? No. By choice, thinks it's a good reason. No, it's good to go into the season with your contract up in the air when he's already said players coming in. So there's a reason he hasn't signed his contract. It's not the club. The club would have had him sign last season. Trust me on that. So the reason he hasn't signed is because he chose not to sign yet. Why?
I agree.
Let's see.
No, I believe it's all, that's all but done. Like, you know what I mean? It's not but it's now. I believe it's on Arteta. I believe it's all on Arteta now. He chooses to have a small squad. Let's get that right. He chooses that.
But he said we're light
in the last few years. That's the way he wants to work.
But he said we're light. He said we're light.
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, you can only have a certain amount of players. You know what I mean? Like at the end of it, like he chooses for whatever reason. I don't care whatever. He is part of that and has chose that he's happy to go in with that midfield and that defence. And that forward line, like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, did they need to bring in another set? Like, I love Calafiori, looks really good. Did they really need that when they could have done? That's their choice. What he has to do now, and this is what I believe he will do, is he's got to have to play with players in his squad. Zinchenko now becomes a very, very important player for us because he's the number 8 midfield player. He's the one that comes in there now, like, you know, and plays that midfield role until Merino gets back. Because we haven't got anybody else now, because this is what they choose to do. We've got 5 left backs at the club. 5 left backs at the club that can play left back. So at the end of the day, I'm saying to myself now, well, Zinchenko, you've got to now go into midfield. Now, I don't know if that's going to work, guys. It might be that it does, and it might be a master stroke from Arteta. Who knows? But he's going to have to do something different now, because we cannot go into the next 2-3 games with Jorginho and Partey playing him, because it won't. One, it's a different system to what we're playing, and two, they're not reliable enough. You know what I mean? So you've got to mix it up a little bit, like, you know. Be very, very interesting what he does over these next 3 games, because I'll tell you this now, boys. You're playing Tottenham away, Atlanta away. You're going into Man City. We've got to be fresh, not with players flagging, because they've got an extra day off, Man City, to us. You know what I mean? They're at home. They've got no travelling, by the way. Their 3 games are all their next 3 games are all at home. So they're not doing no travelling. You know what I mean? Like,
I actually see things a little bit differently, and I'll tell you why. I've been one of Arteta's biggest, harshest critics at times, because tactically, at times, and in-game management-wise, I think he's let us down in games. And I think people have brushed over across that, for my opinion, for the last couple of years in certain games. But if we're concentrating on this transfer window here and looking at the squad, are you telling me that Mikel Arteta didn't want to be adding a top-class striker, a top-class winger, a top-class midfielder, a top-class midfielder, etc.? I kind of feel like he would. I kind of feel like he does. I think he has been backed massively with £700 million that he spent already. I don't think they backed him this summer. I don't think they've backed him at all this summer. Because for me, where I'm looking at it is, when you're looking at a bench that is down to bare bones in game week 3, and we're going, yeah, but injuries, and those injured players are the same damn injured players that were injured last season. We're putting out the same team from last season, bar Calafiori on the bench. Oh, but Timber's back now. Yeah, Timber was our player last year, by the way. I know he got injured, but it's not a new signing. Might sound like one, and Wenger used to say like a new signing, but this is the same squad. So we're basically saying all we needed to add was Calafiori and Marino. Bingo, go win a title. Don't work like that for me. So when I look at it, I'm looking at Edu and Richard Garlick. I'm looking at the Kroenkes, and I'm saying, have you done all you can to say, do you know what? I'm going to sit back, because we've done all we can. Our job's done. That squad's now good enough to go win a title. Over to you, Mikel. I think that is nowhere near good enough to win a title, because what we have done is we've added in a number 8, we've added in a left back, and we've added in a 17-year-old who we think is now ready to go and win us a title. No striker has come into the club yet again. In that time, in 5 years that Mikel Arteta has been here, we've had 9 goalkeepers after Emi Martinez. We've had 6 left backs after Kieran Tierney, and not 1 striker after Aubameyang. Because don't tell me Jesus is a number 9, doesn't score goals. Don't tell me Kai Havertz is a number 9, doesn't score goals. Don't tell me that we've got Raheem Sterling now, who we're relying on, that Liverpool, City and Chelsea have gone, yeah, we've got the best out of him. Let's let Arsenal have him like we do with Willian, Cech and David Luiz. That's what that signing is for me. No consistency, moments of brilliance, moments of frustration. This is not a good window. Anybody giving this an 8 out of 10 window, please go and look at yourself. This is a shambles of a window. Stop buttering it up. Just say it how it is. Why are we so scared all the time? Oh, it makes me a bad fan if I say we've had a 4 out of 10 window. I've got to get behind the team. All this nonsense. Just say it how it is.
I window. But
sick of it, man.
Mikel Arteta doesn't sign. He doesn't want a striker. Don't you get that? He's had the opportunity to buy him, and he hasn't. He chose a Jesus. He chose a Havertz, because that's the way he wants to play. I get it. It's the way he plays, and it's a nice way. I'm not saying it isn't. You know, we play intricate football, the way that drops off and all things like that. It's good. But he's number 1 in his eyes is Havertz. That's the one he's going for. I'm not going to argue with that. I think, like, me and Turkish will argue all day about it yesterday. Unbelievable pass for Saka, who should score, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, from that, scores a goal. That's the role that he plays. He chooses to buy wide players. When you look at it, they were prepared to spend £80-odd million on a wide left player in Madrid. They were prepared to do it. Didn't come off. Not the 80-90 million pound for the striker. They're not.
What did Arteta want Sesko for at the start of the window then? Was that just a joke?
Sesko as a backup. Why do you think
we did want a striker then?
Is he a
as a backup to Havertz? Yeah,
Sesko's a striker. Sesko's a 9, yeah.
Sesko's never going to be they're not going to spend £80 million down on a backup. That's why they went for Sesko. That's why they didn't go for anybody else in the end. That was the one they wanted. You know what I mean? And develop him. And there would have been games when you could bring in Havertz and you can bring him off and bring him in, you know.
I just see lack of ambition, man. I see lack of ambition. I see people that aren't serious. No ownership I know makes profit or spends £20 million net if you're going for a title. Sorry, man. Disgrace.
I was going to say, wasn't we meant to, like, on this pod, when the window closed, have an opportunity to revise some of our predictions that we did?
That'll be on the next show.
We're changing all of them.
I've got a few points I want to change.
I was thinking about that.
Just 2 quick ones as well. First of all, the one player that I did think played very, very well, who's not mentioned yet, was David Raya.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, this is a save I am going to give credit for that I did think was brilliant. The leg save. That is a brilliant save.
But hold on, it's the same thing that you said for the other one. It's straight at him.
It's not though. It's going that way.
The goal's there. The guy's here. Jordan, you are a menace. You know. I know.
All jokes aside, his handling and all that yesterday was fantastic. Everything.
Raya's been our best player this season.
He's been our best player this season.
By a mile. He reminds me of prime Courtois in that everything you can't cross the ball. He just takes everything.
Yeah, he did it fantastic. Takes the pressure. I agree.
The third thing I wanted to make was, and Dan kind of mentioned it briefly just a minute ago, but Arteta. Let's go back to the game. Now, I'm always think that Arteta should get the praise when we win games because he's the manager, right? We didn't win this game. Do we think that he should have done something different to win that game, or do you think that actually with 10 men, just don't lose the game and he did well to get out of the point?
Can I ask that question? I don't know how you guys feel about it. You was watching it, Dan. You was at the game. Even when we went down to 10 men, I didn't think it was a game where we think, right, shut up shop. I felt there was always opportunities there, and I felt like by taking Trossard off and putting Calafiori, I thought was a defensive sort of thing. Like my thing for me was right, get your back four, get your 4 midfield players, get Martinelli up top, and just. Like see out the 1-0, but like they're pushing on, maybe he can get in behind. I felt I sit not far from him, and it looked like to me. I'm not criticising him. I'm just saying, it was like I didn't know what they were doing. Like, they was thinking about, should we do this? Should we do that? Can we do this? Can we do that? It was a little bit mixy matchy, And at the end of it. I still thought we could win the game. I don't know if you felt when it went 6 minutes up. It weren't none of those games where I'm thinking, oh no, I only want 2 minutes and all that. I was saying, like, come on, we can still win this game. I don't know if you felt that, guys, or am I?
I think it's a game. Just briefly, I think it's a game. You take a point. I think you get out there with something. I think if you go for it, Brighton are a good team. They're a really good team, and I think if you try and go blow for blow with 10 men, I think you lose. I think you lose that game, Lee. So I think they got it right. Look, maybe you could be right. Maybe instead of gone for it, we could have. Maybe they were happy with a point. And
how do we go for it? Bring on Ethan Nwaneri and
that was what I was going to say.
There's that as well.
I don't think we could go for it. That was my point. But listen, I will tell you this: the first 10 minutes after that red card, boy, was I worried. We had no clue what we were doing.
Well, it was awful.
No understanding. And I'm not just blaming Arteta for that because some of these guys have got to sharpen up and actually understand what it's like for that, right? But essentially, the manager should be at least trying to get it. Now, I will say this. He was going nuts on the line, trying to tell people where to go and what to do. But that's worrying just by one, player coming down and going down to 10 men. And like everyone should be like, right, we know what happens. We've trained for this, guys.
Yeah, exactly that.
We know where it is. Here we go. It was absolute shambles and Brighton were just peppering it, going forward. Then after that 10 minutes, we did calm down and we got into it. And I actually believe more like Jordan, it was like, we're just going to have to try and get out of here with something because this is not looking good. Lo and behold, we actually had a couple of chances, particularly from Havertz and Saka to actually win the game. And yet again, what happens? We miss our chances. So for me, that was what was frustrating. I looked yesterday, I've got to say this. There's a girl who sits with me and she goes, Dan, who is this warming up? And I thought, wow, this is game week 3 and we don't know who the squad are that's coming on from the bench. Now, obviously, I knew who they were, right? But you've got Salah and Dean warming up. You've got Ethan Nwaneri warming up and you've got Miles Lewis-Skelly warming up. I'm sorry. We are not in a position where we're going for top 4 anymore. It was great having Smith Rowe, Eddie Nketiah and Reece Nelson when we were doing that. It's great to see some of the youngsters. It's nice to see them in the Carabao Cup. I don't want them warming up, getting ready to come on and take 3 points from Brighton at home. That is not the position we should be in, and we are. And that's why I look at the ownership and the board and say, do you think you have done all you can to maximise this window, which is Mikel Arteta's words? And the answer is clearly no.
Clearly no. Clearly. But, you know, we have large sections that have become, what's the word that...
Apologists.
No. You know when the government have you in the way they want you? Or like a company, they have you in the way they want you. I forgot the word for it, but they've got a certain section of this fan base perfect because
I know what you're saying.
Indoctrinated.
I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm not going to be too disappointed when I go to Tottenham, right, away from home, and I look at the bench and Sterling's on there and Jesus is on there. I'm not going to be too disappointed by that.
But will Jesus be on there?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, and if he's not, I'm with Dan on this side. You know what I mean? You've let us all down because you know that he's not going to be fit. I don't think Jesus is fit enough to last the season playing as the out and out shot. So what he is, he's going to be a squad player. He's going to be one that's going to come in,
and he should be, Lee. He
should
be our second striker,
I think we said this a couple of years ago that if Jesus is a squad player, we ain't doing too bad, and that's what he is now, in my opinion. So I expect him on the bench against Tottenham. I expect him on the bench against Atlanta, and I expect him on the bench against Man City, fit and raring to go on all those 3 games. And if he's not, I want to know why he's not, and why you haven't thought, right, we need someone that's going to come in and be reliable as that. And that's my biggest, and that's where I'll go with Dan.
But here's the thing. Here's my final point on Jesus. Even if Jesus is fit, we're talking like Jesus starting for us is like, okay, cool. Like he's prime Van Persie or prime.
No.
Even if Jesus is fit, I'm still not confident. Jesus is a beautiful football player. He's a lovely player. But my position on him has always been he ain't the guy to win you a title. He's won titles at City, but he didn't win them the title. So even if he's fit,
squad player to win a title. What Jesus is now in my mind is when you're playing, I don't know, Atlanta away from home, right? Yeah, you need a point in the Champions League. You play him and you rest the main man for the 2 big games, Tottenham and thing. That's what you do. Or the Carabao Cup game when you don't want your striker playing, you bring him in.
Problem with
that's what he does now. That is what he does. I don't want to. You're dead right. I don't want to be going like, oh, we're relying on him now, because I'm not going to be relying on him. I love him. You're right. We all love him as a footballer. I'd love to have, 2 years ago we wouldn't be having this conversation before that knee injury. I think like he was sensational. But
I'm actually done. I'm actually done with him now. I'm actually done with the whole change.
I get that. I can
understand that as well, Dan. I think I do.
I'm kind of done now. I've seen enough from him and Tommy Yasu to know they need to be gone in the summer. After this season, they're not fit enough. The best ability.
Tommy Yasu is another one, Dan. Totally right. Yeah.
You know, the best ability is availability. These people aren't available. So what's the point? I don't get it. I don't get why we would hang on to people like this. Thomas Partey's obviously going to go. It's another one that gets cropped. Zinchenko would be one. He gets cropped quite a bit. I'm hoping Timber can stay fit. I just think we need to remove those and upgrade on them. And unfortunately, we don't seem to be doing enough. And I will say this lastly, I'm with Turkish. I think the ownership and the board, if people are still going, this is a good window, you're just blindly backing them now, and you're being toxically positive. You're not saying it how it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, funny enough, I mean, Jesus, when it was only Jesus we had, these same fans would protect him no end. And then Havertz comes in and people quickly forget about Jesus.
Yep.
And now Havertz is the one that's protected. But the reality is both are equally squad players. Both should equally not be relied upon. Injuries or quality, it's, they should both. So keeping one guy starting against Atalanta to protect the gunman, where's the gunman? Did you know what I mean? We're protecting another guy that really should be a squad player, and that's the problem. Yeah,
who's better than Havertz in this league? in that role? Who's better?
What, up front?
Yeah,
What, up front?
Who's better?
Haaland's better.
Right.
Jota's better.
Watkins.
Well, you'd have Jota. So if Jota come to the club in this transfer window, you'd have been happy with that.
No, not in this transfer.
No,
Who's better?
that's what I'm saying. So in this transfer window, who are you bringing in?
I would.
Well, in this one, Gyökeres is better than number 9. Isak's a better number 9. Lautaro Martinez, even that's the name that didn't get mentioned.
Tony.
I would have taken a punt on him. Tony.
Osimhen, Tony.
Osimhen, I would have taken a punt on.
I think Watkins is better. So even Solanke is
better than him from January to now. They've been better than him up front. All these players, apart from Haaland, from January to where we are now, 2 goals in 3 games.
But we're going by form, then it's different because people have been injured.
Isak's second half of last season, as much as Havertz done well, Isak was definitely.
You know, I mean, he's not available, Turkish.
Again, you make the players available. Van Dijk wasn't available for Liverpool, hence why they nearly got taken to court. But guess what? 6 months later, because they meant business.
6 months later. They didn't get him when they wanted him to.
You know what we do 6 months later, Lee? We go for Vlahovic one summer, and 6 months later we get Jesus. Jesus and Vlahovic are nothing alike. We go for Mudryk 18 months ago, and then this summer we go for Calafiori. What's going on? Like, you've highlighted Vlahovic and you've highlighted Sesko as strikers you've been interested in, and you've highlighted Mudryk as someone you'd nearly spend 100 million on. So how comes we haven't?
Listen, I agree with you, but what I'm saying is, I think at the end of the day, the Havertz one, right? I don't think he was ever planned. I don't care what anybody says to be the centre forward.
No, it wasn't.
They've stumbled on it and they've got lucky with it. If you want my honest opinion, you know what I mean.
No. I don't think they got lucky with it, because I actually think if we had made a better signing than Havertz last season in the summer, we could have won the league last year. It was a 2 points difference, and the reality is,
maybe if they'd have put him up front earlier, we might have won it. I don't know, like, you know what I mean. Like, I think they stumbled on it. If I'll be honest. I really do.
I'm tired of this club stumbling on things. We stumbled on Ozil. We stumbled on Ozil when Real didn't want him. We stumbled on Alexis Sanchez when they didn't want him. We stumbled on when are we not going to stumble and go kick down a door and take everything?
We've done it last year.
I'm tired of stumbling over. We stumbled over Henry even. Let's not forget that even at our greatest era, we, not stumbled, because Wenger was a master at picking out young talent. But essentially, we've never smashed down the door. Didn't we move out of Highbury to start being more of that club? Or was
we've done it with Declan Rice? In fairness, we've done it with Declan, but we've not done it enough, is what you're saying, and I agree with that. Like,
one example, one example is definitely not enough. Which is that's the sad reality. It is one example, but it is what it is. And now, to be honest, even that someone else.
I'm with you guys on this, but you're 3 games in. We've got to see where it pans out. And at the end of the day, if you want my honest opinion, I think you're right. I think, at the end of the season, you two are going to be right. I'm in your camp at this moment in time, because I see it. But at the end of the day, we're still in with a chance. We're still there. We battled it last season. You just got to back these guys now and see what happens. And at the end of the season, there should be, and I'm telling you this now, I don't want excuses at the end of the season. If you two are right at the end of the season, there's got to be accountability. That's all I'm saying.
I think Lee's right. I think the 4 of us agree that it ain't looking good, and we're not really in a position whereby we're confident we can really go and stick it on City, right? So I think we're all in agreement there. Yeah. But look, it's 3 games in. Let's try and give the viewers some positivity, in the sense that, look, we could be talking very, very different in 2 weeks' time. We could get 4 points from the next 2, and it could be like, all right, really stumbly start, wasn't happy with the window, but we're still in the top 3, top 4, 2 points off the top, maybe, and then we move. Look, it could be very different. Also, we could be 0 from the next 2 games.
Can I say something? In 2 weeks, we could be 5 points behind City. That's with a Tottenham win. Yeah, that's with beating Tottenham away. We could still be 5 points behind City in 2 weeks.
We could, and I think we could.
Listen, Turkish, I'm going to be honest. You've got more chance of that being 5 points than no points or in front.
Oh, 100%.
I'll bite your hand off now, right? And I'm pretty sure you all will. Like, by that, we walk out of the Etihad 2 points behind them.
Yeah.
I'll bite your fucking handle for it now.
Yeah, and that's the position we put ourselves in, because 2 weeks ago we would have said we need to run away with this season as much as possible, but now we've dropped points.
We messed up yesterday. End of. That's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan, you say end on a positive, but we've mentioned the only positive that I think could be mentioned, and that's David Raya. I think the first 3 games of the season, he saved us points in every single game in some way, shape, or form, and he deserves a mention there, because last year, all the controversy, big up Ramsdale, he's got his move now, and that saga is finally over. But Raya is the shining light so far.
By the way, that should have happened last year.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you feel about it. So I'm going to be real. Like, I ain't worried. I want Raya to do exceptionally well now. I'm not looking for. I think personally, last season I was looking for mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Like, I went like this and that. Now I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, brilliant. I think the pressure's been taken off, and that's what you get rewards like that. I thought he's been fantastic yesterday. I think that he's gone under the radar how bloody good he was yesterday.
Even the goal they scored, he saved the initial shot. It's the follow up that the defense failed to cover. You know, so yeah, big saves, and aerially, I mean, from the get go, he's been solid. Let's slowly but surely go into comments of the day. I hope you're all ready for it. Not all, Dan. You know, I know you aside.
No. Dan's part of the crew. Dan's part of the family.
No, Dan was late entry. It's all good.
Late entry, like, we just I
did see your thing in the private chat. That's what I do.
Which is the point for not really coming to the day.
I did just look in the private chat and see you put it, so I am looking now, and I have got one already, but I reckon someone else will have it. So.
There you go. You're better than Lee already.
Well, yeah, he takes up. You weren't here on time. There you go.
Love that, man. Love that.
Let me kick it off. It's mad because we're talking after a draw today, so the mood's very different. But this one was after the second win of the season. Let me do this one from Voice Notes by Dylan. Love the podcast. Weekly listener from Australia. Turkish is phenomenal. Lee is fantastic. James is incredible. And Jordan is just doing his job. Keep it up, lad. This is our season.
I had that as well. I've actually lost this. I'm glad you read that one out. I'll jump in next. I found another one that reads, the pod is quickly, it's from Joe Lou G. The pod is quickly becoming Sharoy's boys versus judges.
Can I have that one?
I love that one.
The old Mourinho look-alike, you know what I mean? I'm worried about him. If he comes into the office with a shoulder injury, I think he's a double.
Layer on the side, number 8 for Arsenal. So mad.
It's about as reliable, I'll tell you like that.
I've got to say,
I agree. Lee should be deducted a point.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
I've never heard a 67-year-old cheeky bastard year-old man saying the word wee-wee. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Lee, quick question. Did anyone wish you a happy 73rd birthday?
Yes, you twat.
Nah.
I have to say this, right? The birthday love that I got from the group was non-existent. Like, absolutely non-existent. Like, you know, no one wished me happy birthday.
Nah, we did.
Then I just thought, like, you know, I hadn't even heard from that. I actually said, I've not even heard from that Tosspots. Not even a word, you know what I mean? Like, you know? And then he did a private message with a lovely message, so I sort of forgive him, like, you know what I mean? But
yeah, man, you know I love you, Lee. You know I love you.
Yeah, you know, my mate Jordan did come in with some birthday love, but the rest of them,
see,
there we go.
Man,
yeah,
I said birthday love, man. I said birthday love.
Bring me into this. Love, you know what I mean?
Bring me into this. Let me just bring the one in that I always, whenever I do this and do comments a day, I always do the one that made me laugh, man. So it's not me agreeing with the comments. It just did make me smile.
Yeah.
This is from
Here we go.
Sam Perry.
Here we go.
This one is I'm sorry, Jordan, but this just cracked me up.
Right.
So this one's coming from Samuel Perry. Jordan on this show is like if Katie Hopkins was the 4th Top Gear presenter.
Oh my god. Nah. And after her antics in the last 48 hours as well, that one's even worse.
Well, on that Turkish, I don't actually what's more insulting. Somebody comparing me to Katie Hopkins or was it you comparing Lee comparing you to Joey Barton?
Yeah.
I don't know which one was more offensive.
That's 2 in 2 weeks. Danny called me Joey Barton last week.
There's no manners on this podcast.
What's going on? Joey Barton, Katie Hopkins. Yeah.
It's all mess. It
ain't looking good. It ain't looking good.
But what I will say though, just on the back of that, the comment you read though, Turkish. Just sorry. I do think it's important though that players have got to do their job, right? We got to dig in now. We do their job, but as fans, we got to do our job. Like, it doesn't look good right about now, and I think we're right to be critical. But we've got to believe, as Robbie would say, we've got to really support the boys. And then when the wheels do fall off, the inquest can begin. But I think for now, let's keep the energy high. It ain't looking good. I'm not gonna lie, it ain't looking good. But let's do our job. We're supporters. Let's do our bit. And then when the time comes, we can pile in. I'll leave it on.
We have got to support, and
we've got to back the boys still.
Wise words.
You hear that used to, all right? That's like, you know.
I've called it wise words. Whether I listen to it or not is another. Dan, pleasure, man. Thank you for the late notice, and obviously the appearance won't be the last time this season for sure, because we're still very early on. So show some love to Football's 12th Man people. That's his channel. Obviously show some love to Lee Judges TV as well. He's on that. Whisper It Loudly, Jordan. Turkish LDN is mine, but make sure you're subscribed right here, people, because it is international break. Supporters Club should be back real soon, but Fourever will be back again right before the Tottenham game next weekend, maybe the Monday after, to set the new week up. Hit the like button. Make sure you leave your comments of the day. And yeah, Arsenal have dropped points. And in the wise words of Jordan, it's time to dick in.